What's up, good people? My name is Apollo Woods, and we have another episode of the Bigger the Food podcast. This is episode 17. Now, every time I get on here, I tell y'all how much I have some amazing people that we talk about food and everything else. But remember, there's a few months back, I posted this video about yakami. And people were going crazy asking me, like, what is this yakami thing? Is it gumbo? Is it ramen? Whatever it is. And I had never had some here. I saw the Yakimin lady. I was watching Netflix, and then I came across your profile. We follow each other on Instagram, and then you hit me up. You were like, "Hey, man, like I got some if you want it." Man, look, y'all know I don't play with food. I do not play with food. So CJ hit me up, and man, we started talking on Instagram, started following his food, and I said, eventually, I got to get you on the podcast to talk about not just your food, but how you got to Oklahoma City from New Orleans. So, I'm going to present to someone who may know, and those of you who don't. CJ from CJ's Cajun Chaos.
Thank you, my brother.
No problem. Put your mic up close to your mouth. So, CJ, let's first of all, I just want to tell you that yakami was amazing.
Thank you.
And I don't know how many times you made it since. I hope you made it for nobody else but your family. Because I need another bowl, brother.
I don't make that for everybody. Okay. I can promise you that. I don't make that for everybody. That was something I did just for you.
Okay.
For you.
See, I feel special.
Just for you.
Like I always say, relationships matter.
Just for you, man. My wife was like, hey, maybe one day you should. I was like, well, I can eat it, but I'm not really gonna eat all of it. Because that's a meal, when you get to that meal, you have to make a lot of it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like gumbo.
Yes.
You don't really make a small pot of gumbo. Exactly. So we'll get to the more about the yakami part, but tell people who you are, because one thing we do on this podcast, we could talk about the food, bro, but I want people to understand who you are as the person, right? Because what you do as a person shows up in who you are. Right. Shows up in what you do. Yeah. Right. And you're more than just the person that makes amazing po' boys and yakami and everything else. So tell the people who don't know who you are, who is CJ?
CJ is a kid from New Orleans, man. Grew up in New Orleans, first 18 years of my life. I was born in 1984. Okay. So I left pre-Katrina. I was in college when Hurricane Katrina hit.
I was in Houston.
Yeah, I was at Blinn.
Oh, yeah, I know where Blinn is. That's crazy, man. You were not far away from Houston.
No.
I promise I did not know that. I did not. You just told me that. I did not know that.
Blinn.
Okay. So you're at Blinn College. You're Blinn playing sports? You're Blinn playing football.
I went there to play football, but I was pursuing criminal justice. Football, I went to school to go to school. Football came along because, hey, I was good at it.
Right.
While you're here, you can just play some football and pay for it.
Okay.
But I didn't go to school to play football. I went to school to graduate to criminal justice.
Okay. So before we get in that, I want to talk about more of the earlier days. So what was home like? Like what was growing up like see, I don't know if y'all been to New Orleans. But New Orleans is an amazing place, and also they talk about New Orleans again on the Netflix series Hound the Hog season 2. Yeah, so much culture. I love the people. I mean, it is something about Louisiana, period. But how was it growing up? Like, what was growing up in Louisiana like for you?
Family.
Well, first of all, are you from New Orleans?
Yes.
What part of New Orleans?
Algiers, 1.5 West Bank, that area, like the cutoff. If you know anything about Algiers, it's the cutoff, General de Gaulle, Holly Park Apartments, apartment D46.
You got to get the whole description. Well, the reason why I asked that, because everybody thinks that if you're from Louisiana, everybody's from New Orleans.
Nah. Some people like to take New Orleans, and that's why some people say the boot.
Yeah.
Because they're not from New Orleans.
Right.
So if you're from New Orleans.
Because Baton Rouge and New Orleans is not the same.
Nah, we don't.
The terms are different. The language is different.
Yeah. We don't take on anybody else from Louisiana. New Orleans is its own state.
That's Boosie. That's Boosie is in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Master P and everybody else.
We got our own thing.
Lil Wayne, that's the one. That's the one.
New Orleans is still cultivating the world, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was hospitality, family, man. I grew up. I'm the third of 4 brothers.
Okay.
So I got 2 older brothers, a younger brother. So it was in the house, man. I'm talking about we took on people. My mom always had to cook for almost a football team because my mom raised all boys. Yeah. So when she get off work, she's cooking for boys in the house. So she was already grooming us, but we weren't paying attention.
So you were the third of 4.
Yeah, I was the third of 4.
You're third of 4 boys.
Yeah.
So how many holes were on the wall with having Debbie boys in the house?
Probably sticking tweezers in. It was worse than that. It was the tweezers in the socket. Like I told you, don't touch that. Look, man, it was interesting.
Okay.
It looked interesting, so I had to try it myself, and I won't do it again. I promise. I promise.
So just like growing up in a typical household with a bunch of boys. So we talked offline. Your mom worked really hard, and so where did so having 4 boys with big appetites, but what was the kitchen like? Like, where did
Don't come in here.
Okay.
Don't come. You're gonna eat what's up here, and you got to eat it. So my mom, man, I don't even eat grapefruit now. We were raised eating grapefruit, real sugar cane. Like we were raised eating that. It was like we had vegetables but we didn't know anything about it, but our parents knew. And now that we are adults, man, that helped me out in the long run. Now I look at it, I'm like, wow, the stuff I don't even like no more really is the good stuff.
Yeah.
I force fed it to us.
Right.
So that's how childhood was. So everything we needed, man. It was beautiful growing up. Man.
Yeah. I'll put your mic a little close. So, okay. So then at what point did you start getting interested in cooking? Because typically when you talk about food and cooking, you don't hear that. It's not typical that you hear that a lot of guys cook.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm from a big family, so food influences so many guys cook, but you don't hear that much, or people seem very surprised. So how did your home life or just life in general get you to become interested in cooking? Because cooking gumbo and yakami and making po' boys, those are complicated things to make. Like,
I take patience.
Because if you don't get it right, it's gonna taste bad, and folks will tell you about it. So where did food become influential for you?
College, my mom. Because I was on my own when I was at Blinn. Like once there was a point like I was there on my own. So my mom always would tell me, hey man, you need to learn how to cook. You need to learn how to cook. But I'm football school, I had no time. And so she kept telling me, hey, you need to learn how to cook. So through college, I wasn't cooking, but she kept telling me, hey, you need to learn how to cook. But as soon as I was done, boom, hey mom, what I need to do now? So it was always there. So, and I used to try stuff here and there when I was cooking, but I never really just was like, hey, let me see what this. I always use my mom recipes. Still to this day. Yeah, still to this day.
But you remember the first thing you cooked when you went off the blend and she was like, you got to start cooking. And you were like, hey, I want to start. You remember that first thing?
Red beans and rice.
Red beans and rice.
Red beans and rice.
It sounds simple, but it's not. so talk about your mom's version of red beans and rice. But she was telling you like, this is how you make red beans.
Time. You need the patience. It's time. It's all timing. You need the patience to do it because you can have your fire set at a certain temperature, and if you rushing through it, you can either burn the bottom of it and not even know it. So more of you need to have the time to pay attention to it. That's like doing a gumbo. You need time to make a roux, and that's your most important part. Your most important part is the roux,
right?
And that's the hardest part of it. Everything else is just tossing in there.
Because Creole cooking requires a lot of patience.
Yes,
it requires a lot of patience. And thing about Creole cooking is there's a lot of different cultural influences.
Yes,
where it's West Africa, Spanish, some Southern. You have Caribbean. There's all these different cultures that have come together and made New Orleans like a food capital?
New Orleans is the birth of America.
Talk about it.
Yeah, New Orleans is the birth of America. If you can get on a map right now, and from the Gulf of Mexico, there was one way into the whole United States, and it was through the Mississippi River. And from the Mississippi River gave you everything, but it had to start with New Orleans.
Okay,
had to.
I think everybody from some like major city often talks about they have that pride of their city, and I love the fact that you say that. So knowing that and being taught that, how did that play a part in how you saw the world?
They need us.
Okay.
It's we see what we have. It's very unique. We are unique, diverse. We are a hospital. Our hospitality is like no other. Like
I would agree.
Yeah, it's like no other. You can show up right now on anyone porch and ask them, hey man, I'm hungry. You got something to eat? They will feed you like a gourmet meal. They were sitting there and talk to you, tell you, sit down. Hey, sit down. I'm about to cook you a meal. And they would do that. That's where it comes from. So we have everything, and that's just the nurture of it. Like that's just the nurturing part that goes all into it. But New Orleans,
but why though? I think when you say that, to me, there's truth to that, but it's also for the person who may not be as familiar with New Orleans, might take that as like everybody friendly. Like you still got to be mindful of where you are. You still have to be mindful, but holistically, where do you think that influence of embracing hospitality in New Orleans, where that come from? Was that
the food? It's the food.
Okay.
It's like food makes everybody happy. If food don't make you happy, then
you got attitude.
Man,
unless the food is bad, unless the food is bad, you can have some bad food. They'll guarantee you to have attitude.
But food, and we're always cooking. Like you can. It's crawfish boils. We have the seafood, but every weekend someone is cooking.
Right.
It's just, hey, come on. We don't care who come by. Just come get you a plate. Stop by.
Do you feel like that part of your experience in food being such a cornerstone of not just your family but your culture is what kept that community tight knit or closer knit growing up?
Yes, a whole lot, because it's like even still to this day, like anybody can get together right now and just say, hey man, I got we're about to have a seafood boil, or we're about to just start. Well, we don't do much grilling out there. It's all seafood boils and second lines. Yeah. So you're gonna get that part. It's like,
everybody got a big pot. You got there's somebody's boiling some water somewhere.
Somebody boil. I don't care. And it's not crawfish season right now. You can get you some blue crab.
Right.
So we got some, and so they call it crab burrows. Okay. I have learned how to say it's crab boil, but go to New Orleans, you're gonna find you a crab burrow anywhere.
Okay.
Anywhere.
Okay.
Anywhere.
So you go from being at Blend from Louisiana. So then how did you find your way to Oklahoma?
Man, I transferred to West Texas A&M. My wife I met her when I was at West Texas A&M, and she was living here, and man, years later, she was like, hey, you should move to Oklahoma City. Okay. And it was all right, come on, let's roll. Let's take it on. Okay. And I got here, man. It was very, it was a place to where like, oh, all right. I grew up in a big city in a small town. I grew up in New Orleans. Then when I went to Blend. So yeah.
Culture shock. Culture shock.
My dorm was next door to a cemetery. I'm like, where am I?
Right.
So now, so I go from New Orleans to Blend.
Right.
And it just right there, I was like, hold on, I have to adapt to my environment. I go back to where I come from. Right. Hey man, just adapt to your environment. You'll be okay. Just be yourself. And man, I made the best out of that. And once I got to West Texas, man, I came out here and man, I had to adapt to my new environment. And the one thing that got me was I saw that just like I said, y'all need New Orleans. The Hornets, y'all wouldn't have got the Thunder.
Okay. that's a good plug, because today y'all we're having our 17th episode in the Thunder Launchpad. So I have to definitely give a shout out to the Oklahoma City Thunder for allowing us to be here for this podcast, and we'll be shooting here weekly. So I'm excited to have you on this first podcast here in the Thunder Launchpad. So shout out to Oklahoma City Thunder for being a great community advocate and supporter for what we're doing for the podcast. And so it's actually, she even said that because I didn't put that together. So here you are, someone from New Orleans, made their way through Texas, pre-Katrina, but still you found your way here, and this organization was impacted or started
because of New Orleans.
Professional basketball team in New Orleans. It comes here, and then we end up getting Oklahoma City Thunder from Seattle to here. So there's a interesting intersection of your story that's connected to sports and basketball and the Thunder. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, they need New Orleans.
That's
we
crazy.
Everywhere. We still impact.
You're right. And so here's what I'm telling y'all right now. Here's what I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna ask you anything about your favorite seafood restaurant. I'm not getting to that conversation at all, because I think it's a setup and people want me to do that, and I'm not gonna do that. But I will ask you. So when you started discovering your style of cooking, and I'm assuming that you wanted more of home at home here.
Yes.
How was it for you in trying to find a bit of home in Oklahoma City?
Oh, it was I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it because it wasn't the love that you couldn't find that part. Like, all right, I know you may say some places you may have a certain recipe that New Orleans carry, and then you taste it, you're like, all right, even the color, the texture, and things like that. And so the flavor's there, but sometimes the flavor's nowhere off. And so I just got to the point, I was like, man, look, I done tried almost every restaurant out here, and I have to do it myself. Like, that's how I went to figuring it out. I was like, all right, everything was beautiful. Like, I don't knock nothing, but it was more, I wanted my authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So if you think about that, do you often wonder if your mom didn't push you like years before, you got to start cooking. You're thinking that I got to start cooking because I'm going to college or I'm going off on my own. But then years later, it becomes, man, I'm in a place and I want to feel like home at home, and I don't feel the home at home. Let me start cooking.
And that's so crazy that I want to feel home at home. Home is actually my home nickname. My mother calls me home.
Okay. That's a strength. That's not say strength. That's a different nickname than what people will normally get, because your childhood nicknames are not as simple as just calling you home. Like, I got one, and it's not as simple. It's just what it is, right? So why did your mom call you home? Boy of 3, left home, and she called you home as a kid. So why did she call you home?
I don't know.
Why do parents not tell us what our nicknames mean?
No, I have no clue, man. I still try and think about it and be like, hey, I know it's paying off and the universe is all coming back around. I'm like, all right, home is just supposed to be home. But that's what bring everything back to what you were saying. It was like, all right, where does home? That's how it's just right there. And so just having that part is like me being home, and I have to bring all the home back into me. It was like, man, my mom, I didn't know what was going on in that time. And she was like, hey, man, you need to learn how to cook. She was actually giving me what would consider a skill trade.
Yep.
Yeah, she was actually giving me one and not even paying attention to it. And like, hey, man, you'll need this. Because as long as you do this, you'll never need a woman for anything.
Yeah, I mean, being from a big family, like we have a lot of food and people know how to cook. So how did that play? I understood how I felt like when I moved back to Oklahoma. Although I never lived in Oklahoma City until I moved to Oklahoma City. I was 19 when I left Oklahoma, so I was gone for so long. Like, the community that I built was no longer there, and I really struggled.
Yeah,
because what I was accustomed to wasn't there. So how was it for you and trying to find a place and not feel like you found a place, but it seems like you found a place for yourself through food. How was that space and time for you when you're trying to find home when it didn't feel like home?
It kind of just happened, man. It really, like, I wasn't even trying. I haven't even, like, whenever I post food, like, I have a sister-in-law. She's a personal chef and celebrity chef. She does a lot. And she told me once, she was like, hey, man, just keep posting your food. Just keep posting it. Like, I know you're not even trying right now. You're not even trying. You're playing around,
Right.
and you just post it.
So you got a cousin who's doing the same thing your mama was doing.
Yeah, it's family. It's family. It's all in it, man.
Do you feel pressure to be from New Orleans and feeling pressure to have to know how to cook?
Yeah, that's like a pressure. That's a pressure.
Because I got some friends. I'm not gonna say y'all name. I got friends who are from New Orleans and they can't cook a dime.
Get them out of there.
But they do something anyway, and folks just tell them it tastes good. Like, I know good and well, you know that didn't taste good. That gumbo tastes like Campbell soup, but you cheering them on.
They're supposed to invite you to their house every weekend. They're supposed to be inviting you to their house every weekend. I invite my neighbors to my house. My garage is open every day. Hey, I got food. Do y'all want it? My neighbor's the one that made me start selling my food to the public.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's segue. Let's talk. So let's talk about the business, because I just got so many questions. Because you started trying recipe, you started cooking, and it sounds like you started creating a place, your home culture, how it is in New Orleans, in your own home, establishing your own place, and that began to attract people. Yeah. Did it start to feel like that? Did the reasons why you're cooking start to feel a little different when your neighbors start to talk to you a bit more and come into the house? Did you start to understand more about what it really meant to create culture and community through food growing up in New Orleans?
No, I knew it already. But I knew my food could bring people closer. Okay. So I already knew where it was coming. And like I said, I open my, and I knock on my neighbor's door. Hey, you hungry? Oh yeah. And now that brought them to, like, so I already knew what I had. And I was like, hey, man, you should start charging people for this. Like, what? Like, all right, cool. Here we go.
Okay. So then when you decided to start taking it serious and wanting to make money off of something you learned to do, and that's part of who you are, where was that moment? I want to peel back the business mind a bit when you started trying to figure out, how did you start trying to figure out, how do I create a price for this po' boy? How do I create a cost for this soup? Did you get it right in the beginning? Like, did you price it right in the beginning, or did you make some mistakes? Like, talk about that part of the business and trying to.
Well, with the, like, Cajun Chaos is a po' boy. Like, I specialize in po' boys. Everything else that comes with CJ's Cajun Chaos is just me in my creativity.
So if I went and I got me like a hoagie, regular bread, and I could put a bunch of meat in it, that's a po' boy?
Nah.
So tell the people, like, folks gotta understand, like, what is a po' boy? Because it sounds like to me it's a Philly cheesesteak.
Nah, a po', you can make any of those.
I'm trying not to be disrespectful. I call it Philly cheesesteak, but I just know that if I say something to nudge you a little bit, you'd be like, nah, let me go and tell you how it's supposed to taste.
I'm gonna just stop you at the bread alone, because when you mentioned the hoagie, we right there, it's not a po' boy, because we deal with one specific bread, and it's French bread. It's made by Leidenheimer. It's a company based out of New Orleans, and you can get it shipped anywhere, but it's Leidenheimer French bread.
So why French bread?
Because it gives you the.
I'm trying to help somebody.
Yeah,
because understanding what French bread means to a po' boy.
French bread is so soft and crisp. Like, the inside is real fluffy. Like, if you was to cut inside of a French bread, the inside is still soft and fluffy. So when you on the top of it, it's just crispy. And so once you assemble a po' boy, and you get this po' boy, you done lathered it up with your mayo. It's called man, I'm looking at the po' boy right now. Dressed. So if you go to New Orleans, you say you want your po' boy dressed. That's gonna come with lettuce, tomatoes, pickles, mayo, mustard. And you have to say add cheese on anything. Cheese doesn't come with a po' boy.
Oh.
Yeah, cheese doesn't come with po' boys. You have to say add cheese. So, and you can get whatever, you can salami, roast beef. See, people have French dip or the au jus, a roast beef. Oh man, that's like, yeah.
So if I decided that I want to go make what is an original po' boy, what is inside an original po' boy?
Depends on the protein you decide, like if you want it, ham and cheese, shrimp. So all right, I would ask you, what would you prefer? Shrimp, catfish, roast beef, crawfish? What kind of meat would you prefer?
I'll eat it all, but I'm just trying. So, okay, so you can have a seafood or pork. So
yes,
the proteins could be different, right?
Anything.
But is traditionally, what type of beef is it traditionally? What type of cut of beef do people traditionally have?
Roast. It's mostly roast beef. Like if you go in your store, it's a shaved roast beef. You can get, you just pick what slice you would just prefer. You can get the thin, the very thin, or you could get like maybe an inch cut thick. So it's pretty much, and some people, when you just want to take your time, you can sit up there and roast beef chuck roast.
Okay.
And you can roast one, or you could just let one of those simmer. And once it get finished, man, it's gonna pop.
So it's typically roast beef. It's not like a skirt steak or anything like that. Okay. No. And I'm only asking, pull it out because just to actually know, like, I think it's important to actually know what something really is, because now in the, what I call the TikTok age, people make anything and they say, oh, this is gumbo, or this is
yeah.
If you decide to put noodles, it's not gumbo.
No,
that's not gumbo.
They just could put the name on it, and hey, man, and people will try it.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you started perfecting, as you're building and perfecting your brand on CJ's Cajun Chaos and centering around po' boys, like, why would you say that this po' boy became the signature thing? Because there are so many different things from New Orleans that you could have created here that you could have done, but why the po' boy?
I can't find one out here that I want.
So you found something in the market that was missing.
And it's a sandwich. Everybody loves a sandwich. Okay. It's pretty much a sandwich, but we call it a po' boy.
Okay.
So, and I'm looking, all right, I got all of these sub places right by my house, and I need a po' boy. Like, I take a po' boy over just a sub sandwich.
Why? Not because you're from home, right? but what is it about the po' boy that makes you say, like, this is nothing like a Philly cheese?
Somebody cooked it, literally. Like, somebody is in there cooking. If you order a po' boy, somebody is cooking that. Somebody not just giving you something that's right in front of them. They're not just assembling, they making this for you. You came in there and ordered that. So they're making it for you. And it tastes like.
So typically so I guess I'm glad you said that. Because typically, y'all hold on just 1 second.
We still in the building.
My bad, y'all. We back. Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because look, as on this podcast, you start to do it all, right? So I'm cameraman, I'm audio, I'm host, and all that. So
one man only.
That's for right now. So the difference between, like, with a Philly cheese, when I've seen go to places, it's kind of already done. And you're right. I've never seen a po' boy made on an assembly line.
No, you won't, because they back there, like, it's different way. All right, let's say we got a hot sausage po' boys made by Patents. You have that's the only way you can get it. If you say hot sausage, that's the only way you can get it. So we have this hot sausage po' boy. Oh man, you have to put this on it has to be cooked either in a skillet. We grew up cooking them in a skillet. But now, as I'm cooking, it has to be cooked on a griddle, a flat top, no grill, no, because it sits in its own grease. It's like a pork and beef mixture, seasoned.
Okay. Okay.
It's a mixture, but it's a seasoned patty. And man, when I like, oh man, I'm gonna make you one of those.
So it's called, the brand is called Patton's.
The brand is called Patton.
Okay. It's Patton's hot sausage.
Yes.
And you can't get that here.
No, I have to drive to Louisville to go get some.
You have to drive.
My mom have to mail it to me.
So you have to drive 2.5 hours to get this.
And this is just a little bucket of 6 patties.
Wow. So, okay. So then how does it, the things that you want for your business are not here?
Not at all.
Because we're in a landlocked state. And that's very similar to many restaurants that really try to showcase their culture and their food, especially you're talking about if it's West African, Caribbean foods, you can't find them. So how much of a challenge is that to grow your business, knowing that you often have to either going to have to find a workaround what's available, or you're going to have an increase in cost and inconvenience to go find it elsewhere? How does that play on your business?
It plays a major part, but I'm glad it always come back to the woman who got me going. Hey mom, I need you to mail me this, and I need this by this week. So she's like my wholesaler.
Okay.
She's my wholesaler in New Orleans. I need you to ship this to me right now, and I'm good. So and she, hey, let me know what you need, because no, I can't find it out here anywhere. So whenever I'm preparing or prepping for something, I just give her a month's notice. But get my hands on anything from New Orleans, that's the easy part. Okay. That's how, and that's just for me to make it authentic. Okay. That's how I have to make mine. Like, I can't just, all right, I don't have this, so let me just go to the store in Oklahoma City. No, I can't do that. So to give you the real authentic New Orleans, I have to deal with just New Orleans for my ingredients.
Yeah, but I would see from a business is how that can be sometimes frustrating, because it would require you to create this habit that you have to plan so far out to get something that you need, when if you were somewhere else, you could have it readily available and you could do more on your menu because you have less long-term planning that you have to make. But on the other hand, and we've talked about this, I think by having limited options in this market right now can put you in a position to become the king of po' boys.
Yes.
So how do you feel about becoming the king of po' boys?
I am that already. I'm just about to introduce it to the rest of the world. Like, Oklahoma is about to get a taste of it's a po' boy, and you only can find it from me. That's why CJ's Cajun Chaos. We specialize in po' boys, man. And you can go from a catfish po' boy, you can get that blackened, grilled, fried, however you want it, shrimp. We do any type of protein you want, it's coming on a po' boy. And you getting one specific bread. It's on French bread, not a hoagie. So
with all this, I mean, it makes you hungry, and I want to ask a bit more questions in terms on the business side of things, because where are you in the business? What stage are you in your business where you are preparing or ready for, whether it's a food truck or whatever stage? Like, where's the stage that you're going, so people may have a chance to access that Philly cheese or that yakami on a regular basis?
Well, I'm in the catering lane. Like, I started out, I kind of got ahead of myself, like a bunch of people in any business that I wanted, like, oh, let me get me a food truck, and seeing, oh no, I don't need that. Let me just get in the catering lane, and I still get to give people, hey, let me just cook for you instead of just trying to just sell you something. So me catering, I was like, all right, I like this better because I'm actually cooking you what you want.
Okay, so talk more about you when you made the decision, because food trucks sound sexy to a lot of people.
Yeah,
it sounds like that's the move you want to make if you're cooking.
Yeah. But
for you, why did you decide, you know what, food truck is not for me right now, I'm gonna stay in the catering lane? Like, what made you what was it about the decision that made you say, I'm gonna choose this one over that one?
I felt more at peace just when I just get. I don't feel I'm being rushed.
Okay.
I don't feel I'm being rushed. Like if I was on a food truck or any assembly line, somebody put an order in. Now I know I have either 15 minutes or 20 minutes to get this done.
Okay.
But once I start catering, I was like, all right, I go at my pace, my time. All right, get you done. And once I got to that point and saw my time was peaceful, it was more peaceful that way.
So you really wanted to make sure they got the real experience of what you offered versus I'm gonna make it really quick and fast just to give you food. You want them to feel like this feels
what I did for you.
This feels like home.
Yes. I want
even if I haven't been, I want it to feel like home.
If you've never been to New Orleans, you was gonna taste it and it's gonna make you want to go. The way what I'm cooking for you. So the catering, that's what it gave me that part. Like, hey man, let me give if some of my clients or customers never been to New Orleans, I'm about to give you a taste of it. I'm gonna make you want to go visit New Orleans. If you taste it, you're like, oh wow, this is what their food tastes like.
But CJ, but it's deeper than that to me though. It's what is it? What inspired you to want to give people that experience? Because you could just easily make a business model and say, hey, I'm just gonna I can use the brand of, hey, I'm from New Orleans and I got the look and I sound like I'm from New Orleans. I'm gonna just make something and charge people. But what is it about you choosing to do this that makes you say, no, the spirit behind what I'm doing, I want you to feel like you are experiencing what I've experienced growing up?
It's make people feel good. I felt good growing up. So when
who I'm trying to get to the who.
Yeah.
No, the customers. Like who in your life made you think that way to provide this service to people?
My mom, man. She no matter what you have or you did, like I was the third. So I didn't get no new clothes. I was the third. I didn't get no new clothes. My mom sewed all my clothes. So for Easter, I probably was wearing a pillowcase that she just sewed together and just made it look fly. hey, so my mom just, hey man, just make people feel good. You have that about you. You just make people feel good. You just do that and you'll be okay.
How does she feel about what you're doing now?
Oh, she love it. She love it, man. She just watching it. She's like, hey boy, just go, keep going. So she know what she created, and she's just watching it because it's all just coming back around for her. Yeah, it's coming back around.
So so if I'm starting off, I got these ideas, and let's say whether it's food or whether it's other type of business type, and I'm at the starting point before you started like wanting to sell food. From what you've learned in the catering business, if I'm at the starting point, what are a couple of things from your experience, your wisdom, that you would tell me to guide me to get to it like where you are now? What are some tips that I need to know?
Be yourself. Be creative. Like it's more of like once you go into that, like I was like, hey man, just be yourself. Just get creative with it. And don't follow no trend. You do you. Like I know me giving po' boys, me specializing in po' boys in Oklahoma City, I'm being my own self. It's like, hey, I'm not trying to copy nobody. I'm in my own lane, not bothering nobody. Not bothering nobody. I'm in my own lane. Right. So if there was no, I'm not bothering you, please. And so that's one thing I would tell you. Hey, find your own lane and just stick to it. And eventually it'll pay off one way or another. But it'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one. So be authentic, be yourself. So that's the spirit of what a person does.
Yes.
From lessons in business, then what tools do you think a person starting off needs? Like the basic stuff, do you feel like in business does a person need to get started? And I'm asking that question that way because some people get in their head too much before they even get started. So what are some basic tools in business do you feel like a person just need? You just need these things, whether it's some accounting stuff or registering your business, what are the simple things they would need just to get started?
I tell her that cell phone. I was gonna go get my cell phone, but that phone,
okay.
that's the main thing, and that's free advertisement. That is free advertisement for you. Most people think, hey, I need this amount of money for a startup. I need to make all of this money. That's what took me from not wanting a food truck to, hey, I like catering. And so I said, oh, all right. So I don't need all of that money. And so people think, oh, I need to invest this in it. Nah, you don't. You have a phone sitting up there, P. You have, and the platform you're giving me right now, it's, hey, just be yourself, be you. And so it comes back to that, man. Like it's just gonna come back to that. And the business standpoint, it's like you got the free social media, and you take that, and that's your brand right there. Like what you're helping me do right now, and that's your brand. Man, I'm trying.
But before you go on for that, because I think that's the powerful part. You know, we live now in the age of social media and digital, to where you don't have to buy all the stuff to get started. And transparently for me, I thought I had to have a bunch of equipment for my podcast to get started. And I bought a bunch of stuff. Here we go again. Y'all hear my camera going now. So y'all gotta hold on just 1 second. I'll be right back. I gotta press the button again.
Yeah, like man, the social media area. So like now when they give us that platform, and like when you say you go buy the equipment and you go do all this, and now you're seeing, all right, pretty much all I need is the cell phone.
Yep. And so and I think even getting started, to your point, is you don't need all this extra working capital just to get started. If you use what you have,
yes,
and create revenue from that, then you can make that bigger investment later. Because if you spent, I don't know, let's say you wanted to buy rent a ghost kitchen for a while. Well,
yeah.
If you spent $300 a month on just rent for 6 months to a
year, you're in a hole.
Now you're in a hole. That's another expense you got to climb out of. But if you made $300 from just posting from what you have, now that's $300 for that day that you could just reinvest, making $300 every day versus, and that's comes out to probably, more than 10 grand or so, versus I spent $3,600
exactly
that I ain't never probably getting a return.
Exactly.
Back.
Yeah.
So I like the approach you take with that. So if there's one more thing that you have uniquely found that makes that you're like, this is a thing that I found that worked for me, but no one told me, but I figured how to do this and it works for me. What's that thing? What's your secret thing, or what uniquely worked for you?
Patience.
Okay. And patience, and you have a menu that requires patience.
I gave it one word: patience. Like that's cooking alone, like starting a business alone, anything in life, patience. Like if you got that one thing right there, you can figure anything out. That's just that one.
But when does patience draw the line? When does it go from being patient to either I'm being patient, but I'm also being a bit lethargic and lazy. But yeah, I can be patient, but I also have to be driven and ambitious. How do you know when to be patient with what you're doing? I gotta pick it up a little bit, but I'm understanding enough to know this is gonna take some time.
You have to patience come when it feel like it's getting confusing.
Okay.
So when it feel like it's getting confusing, but if you feel like it's moving slow, then all right, now you got to help pick it up a little bit.
Okay.
But if it's getting confusing, now you got to bring it back down. That's when your patience come into play. Like, all right, hold on, this is too much going on. So boom, all right, now you got to have patience. Now bring it back a little bit. But if you got the patience and you're just like, all right, it's just slow moving. All right, now how could you add another step into that slow moving process?
Okay.
So now all right, I got patience, but it's moving a little slow. All right, is there anything you can add to that since you say it's a slow moving process?
I like that. So you help me clarify. So in patience, it allows you to see what decisions you need to make your business better.
Exactly.
It's not saying being patient, I'm not doing anything, I'm not active. It's just saying that I'm being observant enough to make a decision on how I got to move my business forward.
Yes.
And then the other part of it is, but if you feel it's confusing, there's some lack of better words right now, chaos going on, right? Like CJ's Cajun chaos is not a bad thing, right? It's just that the chaos you feel is in all the great food you get, right?
You can't make this up.
No, you cannot at all. Okay.
You can't make this up.
Okay. Y'all had to go. Had to go press the button again.
I'm gonna put it in his name.
No, because you'd have the patience of Job and it'd be a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
That's another thing. But when you feel like it's getting crazy, then you do have to take a step back and figure out, why is it getting confusing? Because to me, there's a difference between something being confusing and chaotic.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So confusing is there's something working against. Right?
It's working. But now you see there's maybe a little piece in there. Like if it's confusing, something's working. You just got to figure out what piece is probably broke right now.
Okay. And that's where the patience comes in.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it may seem confusing or chaotic or crazy, and it really is just like agitation.
Yeah.
It's like getting you got to make a decision, that there's something that you need to make a decision on.
It's like any kid building a puzzle. You go to the store right now and get a 1,000-piece puzzle. The puzzle not gonna work until the last piece is put together. So you have to sit up there and figure out, all right, I have patience to put this puzzle together. Mm-hmm. So now you got to put these pieces together, and all right, well, it probably can fit this way, but you looking at it and it cannot fit. It's not fit. That piece don't go there.
Okay.
And so patience is all just, all right, now I know I'm dealing with the business. All right, there's one more thing I know I can be doing. And how could I get over that hump? Maybe I have to add something, or maybe I have to take away something. Mm-hmm. So, and most people think, all right, what if I add this little bit? Sometimes you just take something away and lessen that little headache that you're dealing with, that confusion to go away.
Right. And I think that's the part of the journey of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of peaks and valleys. A lot of things are crazy. But when you feel like you're doing it for a reason, it's purposeful. It's doing it to add something good to the community. You feel okay with being patient in the journey because you know where you're going with it. But when you don't know where you're going, you don't enjoy the ride. So where do you see, a couple more questions before we close this out. With all this investment that you've done, where do you see yourself by the end of next year? Where do you see CJ's Cajun Chaos by the end of next year?
Well, I'm gonna finish that. Let's go. And this was one of the answers that you gave me. You said find a purpose. That's one I can tell somebody. Find a purpose. I agree with you on that.
Okay.
CJ's Cajun Chaos next year. Man, I don't know. Really don't know. Like I'm not looking forward to anything. I just watch it happen myself. Like I know everything. I know what's gonna come with it. I know how it is because it's fun doing it. I have a purpose what I'm doing. I'm not doing this for no money. I love making people feel good. Like I know my food makes you happy. And like next year, Foodie Fest.
May 11th. It's not canceled, y'all. It's rescheduled. May 11th.
Foodie Fest.
May 11th.
Talking about, that's it. That's what I'm looking forward to.
But people ask me that too. They ask me like, Apollo, what's next? And I'm like, I don't know.
I don't.
Because I would have never imagined. I would never imagine myself doing a podcast. Would have never imagined doing a food festival. Would have never imagined getting into real estate. All these different things, I would have never imagined them. But those opportunities came to me because it's around food.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't tell a person, tell me your 15-year vision or what's up next. It's either two reasons why I'm not telling you. One, I don't trust you, or two, it's none of your business.
Exactly.
Because honestly, I'm trying to discover that
and
for myself.
And you're in the field because, and like now with this food field that we're in, it feels good. Like, hey, what you gonna be doing next year? Making somebody feel good. That's and because one cooking, it's like, man, like you said, it's that purpose. You say, hey, what would you give any advice? Find a purpose. So like if I'm cooking, my purpose is to make you feel good.
But you can do it and be profitable.
Yes. And I know if you're feeling good, you're gonna pay me.
Right. Excellent. But I think even the bigger message in that is that when you find your purpose, it's gonna feel like a journey.
Yes.
Right. It definitely will feel like a journey, but along the way, you're becoming a better person, a better business. You have more opportunities because you are doing the thing that you were uniquely created to do.
Yes. Yes.
And looking at it now, you're 39, 40?
39 years old.
You're 39 years old. If you rewind 30 years. Yeah, I will. I'm 44. If you rewind 30 years, would you have ever imagined that you would be in catering today?
Not catering, but I knew on some stage. I ain't no catering. I'm not catering, man. I didn't even think, no, indeed, not cooking, period. Like I never thought I would be in a kitchen. I used to look, man, that look boring. I ain't got time to be doing that. Now I'm like, oh, I love doing this.
Right.
So it's no, I wouldn't have never thought of it, man. I wouldn't have never.
But do you feel like this is something you're supposed to do?
Oh yes, yeah, yes. It's like the feeling you get from it, man. Like my wife, I was cooking. She's the one that actually pushed the business side. So she was like, hey, man, you're always in here cooking this food. Like, you need to share this with
dirtying up the dishes.
Hey, everybody else needs to taste this.
Dirtying up the dishes.
I cook you clean, babe. Come on. Like, we've got to work as a team. We got to work as a team here. I cook you clean. She's like, hey, but you cooking this, you have to share this with everybody. And she's the one that said, hey, let's start a business. CJ's Cajun Chaos was invented last October 2022.
Wow.
Yeah. So 1 year in, and already I get to sit here with you.
I'm just a guy, man. I'm just a guy. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do.
1 year in, and I get to sit here with you, man. Hey, and would I ever thought I would be sitting here with you last year? No.
I mean, we didn't really know each other.
No, you just said you had a taste for something. Hey, man, look, I cooked that for you.
Yeah.
And boom, I brought you to Yakima, and now we still building and bonding as we speak.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, food does an amazing thing by bringing people together and creating understanding. Yeah. And there's so much of a story even inside when you create a dish. There's this history and conversation. And it's a great way to meet and connect with people. And that's just what I love about what food does and the culture, what it brings inside food. Food tells a story. And again, the reason why I'm doing this podcast is I want people to see that who CJ is, not the person that's the caterer. Like, who is the person CJ? Because it'll make sense on why you choose to do what you do, right? Because what you do is not who you are. And people often get defined, especially in the food world, you're defined by the dish that you create. And you don't have many times to talk about who you are as a person. So I wanted people to hear, hey, man, like, this guy has a great story. Like, you know, no, he's not from here. And yes, he went to college to get a degree, not because he played sports. Sports was the afterthought. Sport was just used to do these things. But where do we get to have those conversations with people where they get to learn about you? And that's why I'm doing this podcast.
Say hi to me. Don't be afraid. Just say hi. I am very unique. I am a father. I am a brother. I am a son. I am an uncle. I am a cousin. I'm all of these things. But the main thing, I'm very, very unique. You will not find another one of me. That's why my nickname.
One of one. That's why your nickname was Home.
So just say hi. You'll get this person 24/7. I wake up like this every day.
Yeah.
My wife don't know how I do it. She like, how you just as soon as your eyes open, you and I'm alive. I'm breathing.
That's awesome.
So that's who CJ, man. CJ is very energetic, very, very energetic. And it's happiness. It's happiness. It's uniqueness. I share my energy and my light to help others feel good.
I love it. I love it. Well, man, this concludes the podcast. It's episode 17. So, for the Bigger Than Food podcast, thank you, CJ, for coming on and talking about your food, your journey, your story, and sharing those things with us. We get to know more about you. But if someone wants to find you, they want to have you for a catering event, a private catering, or bring you out for corporate or whatever the case may be, how can people find you and get in contact with you?
You can find CJ's Cajun Chaos on Yelp, Instagram, and Facebook. It's CJ's Cajun Chaos LLC. Or you can contact me personally, 405-351-0271.
Awesome, y'all. And also put the information in the caption. So if y'all would mind, take this video and share it. We need your help on YouTube as well. So go to our YouTube channel to subscribe to the channel and share it. So your subscriptions, that definitely help us. But share this video. The replay is up. We'll definitely be sharing more, and you'll see more from CJ's Cajun Chaos around in Oklahoma City.
Thank you.